Welcome in this Monday edition, Oxford Exxon Podcast, presented by Twisted Tea. Chase Parham, Neal McCready here with you. Week 0 is here. College football is back. Not another Saturday without college football games. Navy and Notre Dame highlighting a pretty weak Week 0 slate, but it's not too far away. Just 10 away from what is a pretty good night. You got some Big Ten action. You got Florida and Utah on that Thursday night when we'll be with you with a hand raised guys next week leading into week 1, where Ole Miss and Mercer starting at 1 o'clock. So, Camarion Franklin comes to Ole Miss over the weekend. Hit a few final thoughts on that. A lot of coverage at herbalgrove.com from that standpoint, some college football stuff, and much more here with you today on the pod. A pod brought to you every day by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford. You know about the lunch specials. They change every day, but every day $5.69, couple sides, bread, and any size fountain drink. You also can get the ribs, the wet or dry. Call ahead, wrap them up. I'm ready to go for you there with the Oxford Exxon. If you're in Clinton or Brookhaven, those donuts are homemade every single day with the Oxford Exxon. They're going to go all across the state here soon. But for now, Clinton and Brookhaven locations if you're in the Jackson or Brookhaven areas. And again, Neal is in the Clark Ford studio.
I am. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's right to the bottom line. There's no hassle. There's no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is completely up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. Yeah, you get a great product, but mostly what you get is great service. We had an issue with Campbell's car in Nashville on Saturday. And I'm not a car person. My wife is not a car person. But we called people at Clark Ford, who we've gotten to know over the years, with questions about, hey, is it safe to get that vehicle back? And they gave us honest answers of no, it's probably not. And so we went searching for repairs and that kind of thing. It's a level of comfort of service that you just don't get everywhere, but you get it at Clark Ford because they want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. They want to have a long-term relationship with you. 662-257-1900 is that number. Guest join on the Campbell Clinic hotline. The Campbell Clinic is in Oxford now, 2608 South Lamar Boulevard, Suite 102, just across the street from the cottages at Hooper Hollow. The Campbell Clinic provides full-service orthopedic care, everything from sports medicine to foot and ankle surgery to spine and total joint care to pediatric orthopedics and physical therapy. To book an appointment, go to campbellclinicoxford.com or call 901-759-3111. Walk-ins are always welcome at the Campbell Clinic, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Chase is having some power issues at his place. So when he gets back, we'll get him back in. So the big news over the weekend, Camarion Franklin, the 5-star defensive lineman from Lake Cormorant, I think that's how you say it, Mississippi, committed to Ole Miss on Saturday, made that official, things started to really turn Ole Miss's way middle of last week, I guess, and started to be some rumblings that it was going to be Ole Miss. I think a week or so ago, most people would have predicted it would be Auburn. A month or so ago, most people probably would have predicted that it would have been Tennessee. But it was Ole Miss. And huge pickup for the Rebels. 5-star defensive lineman, ranked by Rivals as the number 1 ranked player in Mississippi, ranked by Rivals as the number 11 player in the country. So a huge pickup. A lot of credit goes to a lot of different people, primarily Pete Golding, Randall Joyner, Kevin Bolden, obviously Lane Kiffin, the Grove Collective. It was an interesting thing, for me at least. I wrote a lot about it on Saturday. Cole Patterson with Rivals.com talked to Camarion Franklin, so there's a story that's also there if you want to read his comments. The reaction from people in internet land was pretty interesting. There was a reaction from Auburn of, I think, not Auburn proper, but Auburn fans of kind of shock, I guess, that Ole Miss could swim in those waters. And people do this thing. It's funny to me. They almost do this thing now, fans do, where, well, they paid them. Well, yeah, everybody's getting paid. I mean, Williams-Nwaneri went to Missouri last week, and people said, well, Missouri only got him because they paid him. Okay. My response to that is, so? I mean, if I'm interviewing for a job and one company offers to pay me more than the other two, well, it's going to have a hell of a chance to land my services. Chase's power is out, so this might end up being a mailbag question, a mailbag version of the Oxford Exxon podcast, because obviously I did not prepare for a solo podcast that is happening as we speak. So we'll probably switch to that here in just a minute. But I watched that reaction, and it's antiquated. Frankly, the days of that being some sort of an accusation are simply over. Of course, people are paying. That's what collectives. We're having power issues here, so hopefully you guys are still. Let me know if you're still with me. There was a question in the thread about why we're separate. Well, Ole Miss has football this morning. I've got it. Chase has something going on today. Y'all still with me? Yeah, okay, we're good. Chase has something going on today, so I've got football, so I've got to get out of here quickly and get to football before we only get the first 4 periods. They started about 9:50, and I'll have to walk. I'll have to park on the square and walk to football because they'll be giving tickets out today. So, just from a time standpoint, it doesn't make sense for us to still be here. Chase is having power issues. Apparently, the power blinked here as well, but I caught it before we lost it. So anyway, back to what I was saying. That's that argument is a silly argument now. The days of, well, your school only got them because you paid them. Everybody's paying. It's legal now. People talk about it. I think the day's coming where the payments are going to be transparent. Not because, I mean, I'd love to know, like, what does a 5-star go for? In the same way that I'd love to know what does, what you see in the Major League Baseball draft, for example. You know what the number 1 player gets. You see what the number 3 player gets. There's a sliding scale down the first round as to what a player gets. Well, you get the same thing in in the NFL. The NFL draft. Bryce Young, number 1, got more money with the Panthers than whoever went 20th, for example. I'd love to know what is the going rate for a 5-star player who, in this case, is just barely outside of the top 10 nationally. He's ranked, again, number 11 in the country. But the point is that NIL payments are going to happen. And so Ole Miss has gotten very competitive over the last year or so, 2 years really, with NIL, with what they've been able to do with the Grove Collective. They had a big kind of a fundraiser for big boosters over the weekend. They had a lot of people in. I suspect it was quite successful. They were organized at the very beginning. We talked about what William Liston did at the very beginning, getting organized. Walker Jones came in, took it to another level. They've been very competitive with it. There was a lot of money raised last fall as Ole Miss was having success on the field, and there was concern about whether or not Lane Kiffin would leave, and Kiffin was very clear that you had to have NIL to compete. The Ole Miss people stepped up via the Grove Collective, and they are very competitive right now. I don't know where Ole Miss falls in terms of ranking how much money is in their collectives. No clue. That type of information is just not available, really. But there's no doubt that Ole Miss is competitive. And there are programs out there that in the past era, the former era, where everything was everything was completely under the table, a lot of those programs, I'm not naming names, I'm not referring to anyone specifically, but a lot of those programs were more competitive in that, using that method. Because if you got big businesses, for example, let's say you're C Spire in Mississippi, you can't give big to the Ole Miss Collective and then not give to the Mississippi State Collective, for example. That would be bad business. If you're a company in the state of Alabama, if you're going to give big to the Alabama Collective, you have to give big to the Auburn Collective. So a lot of those businesses just sort of choose to stay on the sidelines, or they make, donations that are just sort of whatever to those two schools, or they probably have to give something to UAB, to South Alabama, to Troy. I mean, you want business. Business is business. Auburn money and Alabama money, if you're running a business, are the same thing. You want both. If you're in Mississippi, you don't want to alienate all the Mississippi State fans. You don't want to alienate all the Ole Miss fans. You don't want to alienate the Southern Miss fans if you're south of Jackson in all likelihood. So those kinds of programs, sometimes some of those programs benefited because you had big business owners who had deep pockets, and they would give under the table, and they would get access or whatever, you know, that came with that, but they were able to do it privately. They had plausible deniability. Well, it's gone now in this era. So Ole Miss has been able to compete a lot. So I'll get in here and I'll take your questions in the thread if you guys have them. First, I'll tell you, I got to catch up here. I'm a little behind. Got to tell you about Twisted Tea. Are you ready to elevate your college football game day experience? Check out Twisted Tea, your go-to game day beverage for college football fans. Twisted Tea is unlike any hard beverage you've had before. It's made with real brewed tea, packs a flavorful punch, 5% alcohol, no carbonation, delivering the perfect balance of taste and refreshment that goes down smooth for every game day occasion. No need to settle for the usual. Twisted Tea turns up any occasion, especially when you're cheering for your favorite team. Whether you're tailgating in the stadium parking lot, watching at a bar, or hosting friends at home, Twisted Tea is there to elevate your game day experience. It perfectly complements your love for college football and your passion for creating unforgettable moments. So let's toast to unforgettable game day experiences. Twisted Tea, the drink that fuels fun and celebrates your love for college football. Keep it twisted. We're also brought to you by BetterHelp. It can be tough to train your brain to stay in problem-solving mode when faced with a challenge in life, but when you learn how to find your own solutions, there's no better feeling. A therapist can help you become a better problem solver, making it easier to accomplish your goals, no matter how big or small. I've used therapy as a way to handle stress in my life, clear negative thoughts, mentally relax a little. For me, it was a game changer. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, it's accessible, it's affordable, it's entirely online. Get matched with a therapist after filling out a brief survey. Switch therapist anytime. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/MPW today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/MPW. We're also brought to you by Davey Ferris at Hilco Insurance. If you hate losing games, you hate losing players, you hate paying for your insurance, Davey can help you. He's partnered with the Grove Collective. He'll be donating 20% of all commissions and 10% of all renewals on both personal and commercial insurance policies. He can service customers in all 50 states. He's dedicated to making sure Ole Miss athletics succeeds in this era of college sports. Contact Davey at 214-715-7247 or via email at dferris@hillcoinsurance.com. My 10 weekend thoughts are up at rebelgrove.com. They're brought to you by Andrew Sego at Sego Wealth Management. If you're retiring soon, how long should you wait to take Social Security? What accounts should you pull from first? If you're already retired, should you consider Roth conversions? These are some of the questions that can only be answered with a personalized retirement income plan. Andrew Sego with Sego Wealth Management specializes in helping folks just like you come up with their retirement game plan. Whether you meet at his office in Collierville or prefer Zoom from anywhere, schedule a free discovery meeting and see what they can do for you. It's rebelsretire.com. Again, rebelsretire.com. All right, let's see. There's some questions in here. I'll see if I can catch up and answer them. I appreciate you guys putting up with me a little bit. Rebel Grizz says, do you think Ole Miss is about to make a strong push for the in-state players committed elsewhere? There's a couple of them. I mean, I don't think there's any question that Ole Miss wants Braylon Burnside. I've heard different things about TJ Harrell, but I think they're certainly interested there. Burnside took a lot of his stuff down off social media. I try not to do a lot of this stuff where you study what a 17-year-old kid does on social media, because that stuff can just go all over the place. They're young. It could be they're upset about something. It could be that they're just doing it for Kicks, who knows? I know that Ole Miss really likes Burnside and would like to get him. I don't know that Ole Miss is going to try to flip. They're not going to try to flip somebody just because they're committed to a certain school. They're only going to, at this point, look, I don't know the exact number, but they're like 20, 21 commitments. I expect they're going to get Noreel White from Ocean Springs. I think it's Friday when he's scheduled to make his announcement. If I'm off a day, forgive me. He was committed to Arkansas for a while. He decommitted from Arkansas. I thought he was going to commit to Ole Miss a couple of weeks ago. He took a visit to Mississippi State. I anticipate that he's Ole Miss's, I don't know if he's the next commitment, but he's coming pretty quickly, I would guess. And then after that, if you were to land another receiver, probably start getting kind of full there. What I think's interesting, and I wrote about this on Saturday, is it's pretty obvious to me, and I'm told from talking to people that I'm on to something that, and it's not brilliant or anything, it's pretty obvious. After a couple of years of really being heavily dependent on the portal, there's traction with high school kids for the first time, the elite top level high school player. The days of signing a high school guy and giving him, with the exception of an offensive lineman here and there, the days of signing a high school guy and giving him 2-3 years to develop in your system, those are kind of over. If a guy can't help you within the first season and a half, really, if he can't play for you by his second season, those guys aren't getting signed anymore. So you're only signing guys that you think can be impactful no later than their redshirt freshman year. And I think they're starting to get those guys. And Lane Kiffin's talked about it. I asked about it during a press conference a couple of weeks ago, about it looked like you're having more success with high school guys. In an ideal world, is that the way you build your program and become less dependent on the portal? And his answer was yes. In an ideal world, that's exactly how you do it. It's how Alabama does it. It's how Georgia does it. Those are the programs you're chasing. Those, if your goal, and his is to make the national playoff. If your goal is to compete for conference and national championships, you're idiotic if you don't look at the programs that consistently do. Look at how they build their programs and at least try to emulate that as much as you possibly can. And that's not to say that Ole Miss is going to get out of the portal. I think they're still going to use the portal probably more than those kinds of programs because it's worked for them. But I don't think they want to continue bringing in 20-something players on one side of the ball in one recruiting cycle out of the portal. I know they don't. They just, it's almost impossible to build chemistry and culture. B, it's super expensive, the portal is. And C, the odds of you getting impact players out of the portal aren't great. You get one here and there. I mean, I think Trey Harris is going to be an impact player. I think Caden Prieskorn is going to be an impact player. Obviously Jackson Dart was an impact player out of the portal, but the portal, I think most coaches will, and I think Ole Miss believes this too. The portal is for filling a hole that's been created. It's going out and signing a free agent. You don't want to field your whole team full of free agents. You want to build guys out of your farm system if you're a baseball team. And plug with free agency where maybe you need a third baseman and there's a guy that you can go add. In football, it's the same thing. Hey, you need another receiver. Go get an impact wide receiver. But you want to have guys that are in your building each day that have been there for a while, that came there because they wanted to be there. They didn't go there because of playing time or some NIL opportunity or whatever. They came there because there was some sort of a connection to the coaching staff, to the program. And it looks like they're starting to build that way, in which I think you're going to see them reduce their portal numbers as early as this coming January. Why did Tennessee go from front runner to completely out of it for Franklin? I don't know that anybody's completely out of it. He can't sign until December, but I just think Ole Miss did a really good job recruiting him. I think Pete Golding did an exceptional job. Kevin Bolden did an exceptional job. They did a really good job convincing him that he was going to be a major part of their recruiting class, a major part of their program. I know he likes Golding a lot, and they were just able to do it. They were able to pull it off. I mean, they didn't quit. Tennessee's not going to quit. Auburn's not going to quit. They have assistant coaches who are essentially, professional salespeople. They're paid not to quit. Dwight says, "How did the scrimmage go on Saturday?" We had no access to it. I've heard different things, but I haven't talked to enough people to really feel great about what I'd say. So I'll leave it at that. CC Simon says, "How many snaps does Howard get against Mercer?" It's a great question. I'm very confident Jackson Dart will start the game. I suspect that Spencer Sanders will play. The question would be if that game is a typical what you'd expect, going into the middle of the third quarter, where it's 42-7 or something like that. You're obviously wanting to get some starters off the field. I would think that you want to get Walker Howard meaningful snaps. And I don't know how many snaps they feel like they need to get from Sanders for him to be ready to play in the event that something happened to Dart or that kind of thing. I don't really know how that's going to get managed. I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to tell us that either. Probably he'll get asked, but I don't think he'll tell us. How can you watch McCready and Siskey today? It'll be on Disrupt Media on YouTube. That YouTube page is up. We'll put all the links out and stuff. I've had people ask about the podcast version of that. You'll be able to listen to it on their podcast page. It's ready to go. It hasn't been launched yet because they don't have content. You can't launch a podcast network, if you will, without content. So once they post some content, that will be available, and that's where it will be. Grind says, no, Chase lost power, so he can't get on right now. Yeah, maybe Sammy, maybe he upset a kicker. Maybe he's out fighting a kicker right now. I don't know. Let's see. Chicagoland Reb says, do you think landing Cam Franklin Saturday helped with receiving more donations at the Grove Collective event this weekend? My speculation is yes, of course. Everybody loves momentum, and they have a lot of momentum in recruiting right now. A lot. They've been able to – this is the first time really under Kiffin that with high school guys – they've always had momentum in the portal, but this is the first time really with high school guys that they've been able to recruit at a high level and maintain it for months at a time. This is shaping up to be a really good class. I think they're up to 22nd in Rivals rankings. They have more guys coming. They're going to move a lot higher than that. And this is just the high school guys. This is not even factoring in what they'll get out of the portal. I think it's also going to enable them to be more competitive at the high end of the portal when you're not having to go get 25, 26 portal guys, when you're just going after 5 to 7 portal guys. It's going to allow you to compete at the higher end of that portal in a way that, frankly, the last couple of years they haven't really been able to do. Dwight says, is this the most momentum Ole Miss has had under Kiffin? I think so. I think in terms of recruiting, absolutely, this is the most that he's had, for sure. Let's see. I lost a little bit. Austin says, I skipped Joey. Joey says, do you think college football is going to end up right back where it started? Excuse me. From a conference standpoint, they'll form a league outside of NCAA, realize this travel thing sucks for others, and split back out. I don't know. I honestly don't know. There's nothing that indicates that right now, at least not to me. I mean, if you look around, everybody's selling record numbers of season tickets. People are excited about college football. You'll see big crowds at games next weekend all over the country. I mean, Ole Miss is going to play Mercer, and I would guess it's going to be close to a sellout, if not a sellout, for a game where the outcome has been decided forever. No, I think the sport's super healthy. And then there's a lot of money. The TV money is right now. It's still there. It's still flowing. And no, I don't think there's any, other than people complaining about stuff. There's really no sign that anything's broken. Austin says, Neal, do you believe that the SEC will ever schedule a conference game outside of the United States like the Big Ten and Notre Dame have done? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Just haven't done it yet. But yeah, I mean, those games, I think they're watching those games, like the games in Dublin and the games in Mexico City, to see, how popular they are, what kind of traction is created from those games. I could see SEC teams playing a game in Europe or Mexico or something. Sure, absolutely. I'm not even sure what that means, Grind. I'm still looking for questions. Kyle, do you think Alabama defensive recruiting will take a huge hit with Golding gone? Steele isn't a long-term solution and will not be focused on recruiting. No, I don't. I think Alabama, as long as Saban's there, as long as that program is performing the way that it has performed, it's going to recruit itself. They've put so many people in the NFL at high levels year after year. Saban has been able to build a program that years from now people will look back and talk about it in John Wooden-esque terms. It's remarkable what he's done. It's almost impossible to do what he's done, but he did it. He's maintained it for going on 2 decades now. So, no, they'll be able to continue recruiting. That's a plug-and-play program for as long as Saban's there. Chet says, explain the relationship between Disrupt and why no longer MPW Digital. Sure. There is no relationship. They were interested in my show with Tyler Siskey, McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. We started talking about this a year ago, and they approached us about moving that show to their network. For me, it's a no-brainer. I talked about this the other day. I'll probably talk about it again today. It was an easy decision. Number one, it would have been completely unfair to Tyler not to do it from a money standpoint, from a financial standpoint. It's a simple no-brainer. And then two, it's not an Ole Miss show. And so if it's not an Ole Miss show and it's on a network that is predominantly an Ole Miss themed network, and this one is MPW, it doesn't really fit. And it didn't really fit. I'm a big analytics person. From an analytics standpoint, it was becoming it was clear that it had hit a ceiling, and it wasn't going to grow. And the only way I could foresee it growing was to get it off this platform and onto a platform that wasn't as limited as this one is. And so we're going to move it there, and I think it gives it a chance to grow. There's no guarantee. It might be a total bust there. I'm not popular with Auburn people at all. It's a Birmingham-based show. It is going to allow us to get guests that we couldn't get here on a consistent basis. I think I won't name names yet, but we're already talking to some people about coming on regularly that would not have come on regularly with the show on MPW just because it would have looked like something different. It would have looked like they were kind of campaigning for an Ole Miss job, and they didn't want that appearance, or that they were criticizing Ole Miss or just talking about Ole Miss. They didn't want to get shoehorned like that. And I think in many ways, to fully answer your question, Chet, I was getting to a place, and it might be too late, where I'm completely shoehorned as a, quote, Ole Miss guy. And in terms of, from a career standpoint, having any options outside of covering Ole Miss, I've got to build my brand as something different than that. Doesn't mean that I won't be here forever necessarily, but if I'm ever going to have options outside of here that I want to pursue, I'm going to have to sort of create that. So maybe I hope that answers your question. We're brought to you by Cromer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Different names, same great products and services. If you live in Oxford, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Cromer. 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, Memphis, or the surrounding area, call Southern. 662-429-4429. A-Stock is a Nashville-based online retail company with the mission to provide customers the power to name their price. All items start at just $1. That's right. Every item starts at just $1, no matter what the retail value may be. Shop now at astock.bid. That's ASTOCK.BID. Or download their app. Name your price on thousands of items from big-name retailers. A-Stock has multiple locations around Nashville, Memphis, and others that are coming soon that offer local pickups, so don't miss out. We will be at the College Corner in Oxford on just just off the Oxford Commons, right off Sisk Avenue. We'll be there on Thursday afternoon. I think it's going to be 5 to 7. We'll be taping a show. It won't be a live stream because, frankly, we just don't have the technology to go do that. But it'll be a show that we'll have some giveaways and things. We'd love for you guys to come out and see us. We'll give you some more details as the week goes on. But that's the College Corner. They have more than 4,000 square feet of the best Rebel gears. Beautiful store. I was in there on Friday. Plenty of parking available. Their staff's going to have you in and out and ready for the Grove. They also have multiple locations in the Jackson area, so check them out at collegecornerstore.com. Game Changer patches are the only two-patch system available in the market to stop hangovers before they start. The warm-up patch used before or while you drink. The overtime patch used after you've been drinking to recover while you sleep. The all-natural ingredients will keep you in the game and ready for your next play. Go to GameChangerPatch.com. Promo code RebelGrove20 at checkout for 20% off your purchase. Speaking of tailgating and getting ready for tailgating, 7 South Tailgating is the way to go if you are looking to tailgate in the Grove this football season, whether you're coming up for one game, whether you're coming for all the games, whatever the case may be, whether your tailgate setup is super complex or whether it's super simple, they have a package for you at 7southtailgating.com. They've been with us for a long time. They'll take great care of you and make sure that you have a tailgating experience that allows you to have a lot of fun, enjoy the game, not have to worry about all the setup, all the breakdown. They'll do that for you. Once you tailgate with 7 South, you won't tailgate without them again. It's 7southtailgating.com. And we're brought to you by Pinnacle. Pinnacle based in Jackson, Mississippi. They've got clients in more than 20 states, advisors in multiple states. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much, much more. It's mypinwealth.com, MYPINN wealth.com. No, it was a good question, Chet. I mean, Chet's not the first person to ask that question about why I moved the show. It was, frankly, it was a no-brainer. It's simple as that. I couldn't justify not moving it. Let's see. My screen just jumped on me. Here we go. Let's see. Breakdown of the depth chart, please. Depth chart's coming in a week. We'll have one. Doris says, with all that is returning next season, do you think Kiffin would want Dart to return and be a third-year starter for a playoff run? I mean, I think we'll see. He's going to get the opportunity to be the guy this year. I think a lot of people, self-included, are really interested to see what kind of jump Jackson makes from year 1 to year 2. He looks a lot more confident out there. He has to cut out the bad decisions. He has to show that he can process what he's seeing quickly and distribute the football to the right place on a consistent basis. That's as simple as that. He's got to make that jump. That's hard. Not all quarterbacks do it. I think he will. I think people inside the program think he will. And if he does, speaking of McCready and Siski, Tyler thinks he's an NFL quarterback. I've not seen that yet, but Tyler knows football far better than I do. He loves Jackson Dart. There are other people that I know who are football people who love Jackson Dart, who think Jackson Dart's an NFL caliber quarterback. Is he good enough to go after this season and get in the draft? I kind of doubt it. I would think that he would, if he had a pretty successful season this year, that you would want him back as a third-year starter. He would obviously have options. He will graduate. He could enter the portal as a grad transfer if he wanted to. We'll see what kind of development happens with Walker Howard, what kind of development happens with Austin Simmons. It's in today's world, it's almost impossible to predict what's coming next month, much less what's coming this time a year from now. But that certainly is something to watch. And listen, I don't think you're crazy to put a lot of your vision on 2024. It's going to be a completely different season because of a 12-team playoff. And you're not going to be eliminated when you lose a second game the way that you are now. Like, realistically, let's just say for kicks and giggles that Ole Miss loses to Alabama and then loses to LSU. I'm not saying they will. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if they won one of those games. But let's say for the sake of this discussion that they lost both of those games. You're kind of done from a playoff standpoint at that moment. 5 weeks into the season, that would be September the 30th, but when you woke up on October the 1st, in that scenario, having lost those 2 games, you would wake up with 2 months of your season left and you're done. You're not going to a playoff. You're not going to Atlanta. That kind of takes a lot of the steam out of a season. Next season, if you started off and you had those kinds of losses, you would be able to say, hey, there's no more margin for error, but we can run the table here. And so in that scenario, let's pretend this year's schedule was in 2024. You bounce back, you beat Arkansas, you get a weekend off, you go to Auburn and win, you come home and you beat Vanderbilt, you beat Texas A&M, and suddenly you're staring at this trip to Georgia, which is this make or break massive game. And don't get me wrong, if Ole Miss did exactly what I just said this year, the Georgia game would still be really big and people would still hype it up and we'd talk about it. And maybe there would even be a whisper of, if Ole Miss won this game, they might be able to get into the playoffs at 10-2. But you'd be having to have a lot of help from outside against LSU, against Alabama, that you wouldn't have to have in 2024. All 3 of you could make it. It wouldn't be a difficult scenario to envision at all. So I don't think it's a terrible strategy to be thinking ahead to 2024. Let's see. The latest, Joey Crane says, what's the latest on Trigg? He appeared to have a good week last week after kind of getting into the doghouse early in camp. Look, he's super athletic. And with Prescorn there and some other guys at that position, they have weapons kind of everywhere. Aiden Williams has been terrific. We've talked about that. I wrote about some receivers in 10 Thoughts. Jordan Watkins has missed some time with hamstring, but I think they expect him back pretty quickly. They've got, obviously, Quinshon Judkins and Kedrick Riscano and Jam Griffin, and we've talked ad nauseum about the quarterbacks. It's an experienced offensive line. They've got to improve in pass protection, but there is a lot of experience there. There's every reason in the world to believe this is going to be a dynamic offense, and the more weapons you have, the more dynamic and explosive it can be. And there's no question that Trigg, from just an athleticism standpoint, can be a beast out there, but he's got to become more fundamental with his assignments. He's got to know where he's going. He's got to bounce back from adversity better than he did a year ago. He's got to grow up, bottom line. But there's some signs that maybe he's doing that. Sammy says, be interesting if Sanders is seen in classes today. Everything I hear is that Spencer Sanders is going to play at Ole Miss this year. I know there was some speculation a week ago, but I've not heard that. Tiva says, what's the win total that keeps the momentum going? I don't know. You guys would know this better than me. I'm guessing 8 wins. If you go 8-4 with this schedule, I would think most people would be fairly pleased going into 2024. Anything more than that, you'd have to be ecstatic. But that's a question for fans. Kyle says, do you think anyone will watch the Republican debates? No. It's one of the reasons that Fox News has been kissing up to Donald Trump in the last few weeks. They're desperate to get him on that stage because he is the only person, for whatever reason or reasons, in that party that creates oxygen. So, no, I don't think anyone will watch it. People will watch. This isn't even a political statement. People watch Trump. It's the reason that everyone puts him on TV. It's the reason everyone breaks away from programming whenever he does anything. Not saying they'll vote for him, because I don't think they'll vote for him, but they'll watch him for sure. Brett says, will there be an audio-only version with Disrupt? Yes, that's getting launched, I'm told, later today. I missed something. Let's see. I'm catching up. I apologize. Like I told you guys, I wasn't prepared for a solo podcast today. Grind. I really don't want to get into all the stuff about Jay and all that. I love Jay. Love his wife. They're great people. G Pitts was no longer a marketable show. Jay's not as popular as he once was here. I'm not popular at all on that site among Auburn people. A lot of people came out very publicly and said, I'm not listening anymore. If you're not going to listen anymore, I can't sell it. If the numbers aren't going to be there, I can't sell it. And if I can't sell a show and I can't make money off a show, there makes no sense for me to do the show. That's just as busy as I am in the fall. If I can't turn a show into a revenue stream, there's no point in doing it. And I don't think the show is going to be marketable anymore. And then I think it's pretty obvious also that we approach our jobs way differently. And I just think that was becoming problematic. And that's not a criticism of him or me. And frankly, I'll say this. I think the way that he does his job is far more popular than the way that I do mine. I think it's in this field, I think it's going to make him have more longevity than I will have in it. So it's not a criticism at all. I just think it was going to be very difficult to continue to market that show. Doors again, he says, I'm curious how different coaches start coaching once the playoff next season starts and you lose a couple of games. Do you start playing younger guys to see what they got? Because no one cares about bowls. No one cares about bowls now. But coaches want to win games because the more games you win, the more money you make. The more games you lose, the closer you get to the chopping block. I think what's going to happen next season is that more games will be more meaningful. I think for the fan, the playoff is going to be exciting because if let's say you're 10-2 Ole Miss, or better yet, 9-3 Ole Miss. Someone just walked into the room. I didn't know who the hell it was for a minute. I was scared. It's Chase. Let's say you're 9-3 Ole Miss. You win the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving night. At 9-3, you're in the conversation for the playoff, but I would think that you haven't locked it up. Well, you're suddenly watching a lot of games nationally that you would not otherwise have watched. Chase, you're going to have to turn on all the cameras. They're completely, and take the covers off. You'd have to turn on, you'd watch the some Big Ten game because you would be hoping that some Big Ten team that has 2 losses would get a 3rd loss, or a team with 3 losses would get a 4th loss. You would be hopeful that an ACC team with 1 loss got a 2nd loss. You would be hopeful that that Big 12 undefeated team went ahead and ran the table so that they were the one team out of the Big 12, so that there weren't 2, 12-1 Big 12 teams that may steal a spot. You would be hopeful that Notre Dame got that 4th loss. You actually would watch and enjoy a lot more football from an interest standpoint than you would had it just been a 14 playoff, where once you lose a 2nd game, and certainly once you lose a 3rd game, you're not going to the playoffs at that point out of the SEC. So I think, I think it's going to be a good thing. I think fans are going to enjoy it. I don't know that coaches will, but fans will. Dwight says, Neal, are you going to drink that Gatorade? I am here in just a minute. I'm going to get Chase on. I got to figure out how to change this real quick. So bear with me. Chase is here, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, it kind of took a minute. There was I'm assuming people can hear me. I don't know. There's a crane on fire on South Lamar. So that has knocked out power to a large portion of anyone that's kind of south of town. They're building some stuff right there at Belk. By the old hospital, which now the university owns, where that weird statue thing is. And yeah, apparently well, not apparently, because I saw it, a crane is on fire there. So they're working diligently, but that's what happened. Yeah, it was a little bit of a shock, a little bit of a frustration this morning is that that got going. So anyway, what have you been talking about? Answering questions? What are you doing?
Yeah, to answer questions. Just,
letting it fly. You were not expecting that this morning.
I admitted out loud that I was not prepared for a solo podcast, and that this was just going to be a push through adversity sort of deal. And
I did not know the issue before I left, and I went that way instead of the other way, and there is quite the scene there on Lamar. So yeah, is what it is. We'll see how long that takes. I pulled up the outage map, and it was 1,000 people or so were 1,000 homes or so were affected when I did that.
Well, that's not good.
No, it was just was what it was.
Thanks to Blake for the super chat. Thanks for knocking out the show solo today. Could have easily mailed it in. I didn't even think about mailing it in. I said, I can, this is not that hard. I can talk. But I appreciate that. Austin, thanks for the super chat. He says, I'll second that super chat. Thanks for helping out with the great show. Chat centered. Yeah, I like chat centered shows. Find out what you guys want to know and try to answer it. That's
one of the huge benefits for the Thursday night shows is you get a read on, hey, what are y'all watching? What are you doing? What are you focused on? Is this thing? I had a pullover on because I was inside, and frankly, I keep my house pretty cold, and that's why I did it. I was also doing some marketing. I got multiple podcasts today, and I will say though, I'm not and hopefully the person is not a subscriber. If so, we love you, and I'm sorry for what I say. There was a psychopath coming into your neighborhood. Somebody was just walking around in their driveway and had a full-blown Snuggie, or was it Snuggie? Is that what those things are, where you put your arms through the blanket thing? They were wearing that down there when I was coming in. I just saw that. Full-blown blanket arm hole thing. I mean, it's already hot. I mean, it's warm out there.
No, I mean, to prove your point, I got out this morning. I think I walked out of my driveway at 6:10, and I was not a quarter of a mile in, and I was sweating.
Yeah, it was not Andrew Ritter. He was not wearing a Snuggie this morning. Congratulations to him though. His child got baptized yesterday. So,
good.
Yeah. About Andrew. When expecting to talk about Andrew on the show today. There you are. I just didn't change. I was frazzled. I was not expecting the power to go off. Couldn't find a few things. Then I was kind of planning because I don't know how long the power's going to be off. So then it was, hey, what's up? What are my options here? What can I do? So yeah, it's fine. It's all good.
It is a good looking quarter zip.
It's a good looking quarter zip.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Moss is the color. If you go to Gentile, I think I actually got that into the stream for a link prior to my stream dying here earlier today. I think that was what I was doing when it went out. I hit the enter button to put in a link, and when that happened, it went kaput. So yeah. Anyway, there. I had a lot of stuff for the show today, but I feel like a lot of that is just going to get pushed till tomorrow now because it sort of is what it is at this juncture for that.
Laughing at Caroline. I'm sorry.
Because I assume you had a bunch of Camarion Franklin.
I talked about him a lot. I think I've covered that ground. I will say this about Camarion Franklin because I told you I would, so I'm going to live up to my word. Our field.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The team site field. We're not the most professional group in the world collectively, and recruiting brings out the absolute worst in us, if you will. The worst. The cryptic stuff about people's families and
not knowing the situation around someone and going, you know what? I know he went somewhere, but he only did that because he was forced to do it from members of his family.
Yeah, and you know this how? And look, the other thing is this. I mean, the number of young people who, without any family guidance, forget sports for a minute. The number of young people who, without any family guidance, pick a school to go to college, that's a pretty small number. Most young people, 17-year-olds, and he is a 17-year-old.
Sure.
The fact that he's a big, strong, fast 17-year-old doesn't change the fact that he's a 17-year-old. Those are adjectives that if you eliminate them, he's a 17-year-old kid. Most 17-year-old kids have people in their lives who advise these types of decisions. And that's coming from someone who we let our kids make that decision on their own for the most part. Although, I mean, if Campbell had come in and said, hey, I want to go to UCLA, I would have said, how the hell are you going to pay for it? I mean, what are we going to do, right?
There would be some questions.
Like, what are we doing? So there were some limits, but, you're still part of the process. When she went to Auburn to visit, when she went to Arkansas to visit, when she went to Oklahoma to visit, well, someone had to drive her. Someone had to be there. You had to pay for the hotel rooms and stuff.
You leave and you go, hey, what'd you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so-and-so.
So you're there when a lot of that stuff is going on. I got to see the presentations and all that stuff, and you get a feel for the place. And, I could on all of those places. I never said a word. And when she would say, well, what did you think? I'd say, it doesn't matter. I'm not going. I'm not going back to college. You pick. You're the one going to college. What did you think?
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk through it. I can't speak to what led Camarion Franklin to choose Ole Miss, or what family pressures there may have been or not been. I have no idea. And the people that go into that stuff, unless you have real firsthand knowledge, you should probably stay away from that.
They all will now. Don't worry about it. Got it out there. Got the word out. PSA. It's handled. It's all good. No problems.
Kyle, Biden and Trump in a street fight. Who you got now and in their prime? I wouldn't like either one of their chances at this point. In their prime, I don't know. Both of them in their primes, it might have been a pretty good brawl.
Pretty good scuffle.
Today, it would be pretty gross.
Is that the next chapter of our Zuckerberg Musk cage match that's not going to happen?
That's no way it's going to happen.
No, God, no. I'd pay to watch. Sure, whatever.
Oh, I mean, if they actually fought, I'd probably watch it. I think I got everything. Okay.
Are you going to sit down and watch this Notre Dame Navy game Saturday?
I don't
it's
know.
The only game of the day that's decent at all.
I don't know what my schedule is, but yeah.
1:30.
Yeah, I'll probably watch some of it. Sure. It's football. It counts, football. And I tried to watch the Saints.
And because of your love for Clark Lee, you'll watch Vanderbilt Hawaii to some extent on Saturday night.
Yeah, sure.
6:30.
Yeah. Hey, for one moment, Vanderbilt will be the winningest team in the SEC.
You're wearing the white V-neck T-shirt today. You kind of look like you're going to like a Josh Pate lookalike contest.
Oh, I'm not nearly as.
I said lookalike contest. Yeah. I did not say
Josh
imitating.
Josh is like yoked.
Yeah, he's.
I mean, that dude is.
Yeah,
he has been in the gym.
I've
not been in the gym as much as Josh has. I've probably run more than Josh has.
Yeah, he put some weight in.
He's a strong dude.
Yeah. Louisiana Tech also playing on.
Who do they play?
Florida International, Mike McIntyre.
Oh,
against La Tech.
I think
8 o'clock.
That's on CBS Sports Network or something. If that's on, I'll try to watch some of it. Sure. Yeah. Is that game in Ruston or Miami?
It is in Miami, to the best of my knowledge.
Oh, okay.
Joe Alley Stadium. I think that's where that's at.
Joe IA Stadium. That's Ruston.
Okay.
That's
is it
Ruston?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Home's on the left. Sorry, never mind. Yeah, You're right. Okay. Yep. I was on the athletics thing, and I don't like how they do this. They put the home team on the left. Don't do that.
No,
give me the home on the right. I mean, that's what
the home team on the right.
That's what we're doing. Yeah. Then Navy at Notre Dame, UTEP at Jacksonville State, Ohio at San Diego State, UMass at New Mexico State, Hawaii at Vanderbilt, San Jose State at USC, and Florida International at Louisiana Tech. That is your week 0 slate. If you,
I mean, none of those are like enthralling football games, and I probably am not the football junkie that watches every down of every game. But yeah, I'll watch some of those. Sure. What I have found that I just can't watch is much NFL preseason. I tried a little bit.
Well, it's the preseason.
And it's preseason, and I just can't get into it.
I mean, the starters are not the most locked in humans on earth.
No. And once you get deep into the rosters, you feel like you're watching a USFL game.
Yeah, because they're not going to make the
right.
They're not going to make the active roster.
So I wasn't able to do that.
I did not even turn on Saints Chargers last night.
Oh, really?
I was following it. I kept it up on Twitter. I was more not interested is not the right word. I was more caught by the media complaining being there in the first place since hurricanes and monsoons and all these things were hitting LA. At least potentially there for that. There was a frustration by lots of people, media and otherwise, that the game was simply being played and they were not just home dealing with whatever was going on yesterday. Saw the Saints and Texans canceled their joint practices that were supposed to happen this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They were supposed to practice. I don't know if it was today or tomorrow or the next day and the next day or
out
whatever
there.
It is. I don't even know. That's what I thought was weird because unless there's some like getting back issue, I don't know. I mean, obviously weather issues in LA are not weather issues in Houston or New Orleans to the best of my knowledge. But yeah, that was kind of whatever.
I'll tell you that we're brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. John is part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows him to supply his clients with added values, unique benefits simply not available to other travelers. Get in touch with him and give him some parameters, give him a budget, and he's going to give you options that you're not going to find on your own. 901-494-3387 or jedwards@regencytravel.net. Oxford's newest Greek restaurant on the square, Opa, is a perfect place to host your company dinner, your festive party event as we get closer and closer, believe it or not, to the holidays. Start planning those kind of things. Think about Opa. Great food, great craft libations as well. They can accommodate up to 200 guests. For catering or booking information, contact Jeannie, 601-421-7147. We're also brought to you by Service Specialist Staffing and Recruiting Agency. We'll have Neal's Picks coming to you next Thursday. They sponsor that again this season. Thanks to them for that. They've been connecting great job opportunities to candidates since 1967. If you are on the job hunt, whether you're seeking an entry-level position or you're a seasoned professional, they have opportunities across the board. If you're in IT, engineering, dentistry, accounting, law, manufacturing, human resources, or maybe you don't even know what you're looking for, they can help you at Service Specialist. Their goal is to get to know you, your strengths, your weaknesses, see what you're looking for in your next career move, and help you find the right fit. It's always free for the candidate, 662-832-5138 or servicespecialistltd.com. Get the beautiful and healthy smile you deserve at Corinth Dental. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative, state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. From routine checkups to advanced treatment, including implants and Invisalign, Corinth Dental is here to help you achieve your smile goals. So schedule your appointment today. Take the first step toward a better version of yourself at corinthdental.com. Are you a displaced corporate executive wanting to put your career in your own hands? If you're an experienced entrepreneur looking to diversify, Andy Ludicky can help. He owns multiple franchises and businesses, uses his expertise to help others find their American dream through a very thorough and free consultation process. So call Andy, put your life and your career in your own hands. It's 100% free. You've got nothing to lose. MyPerfectFranchise.net, Andy at MyPerfectFranchise.net, or call him at 404-973-9901. And we're brought to you by Southern Traditions Farm. It's a 68-acre, 32-stall upscale equestrian training and boarding facility in Canton, Mississippi. 2 sand rings, a grass ring, miles of wooded trails. There's a lot offered at Southern Traditions. Horseback riding offerings. You can compete in nationally recognized competitions and much, much more. It's Southern Traditions Farm on both Facebook or Instagram.
Also, with the football season coming here soon, Johnson Hill Creamery back with their tailgate packages to help you out in the Grove or wherever you're tailgating this season. They're located in Chicory Market now after some movement this summer, and they will feed anywhere from 10, 20, or 40. You can specify the different packages. The largest one's 2 quarts, spicy feta dip. You got pepper jelly. You got large specialty trays, artisanal, grazing, charcuterie, whatever you're looking for there. Some sandwich trays, fruit trays, crudité, cookies, brownies, whatever you need to take care of your tailgate there with Johnson Hill Creamery. So go to johnsonhillcreamery.com. You can pick that up on Friday or Saturday of game weeks and get everything you need for your time in the Grove this season. Saw a list yesterday of the top, well, actually not all top, the 30, the ranking of the NFL stadiums. You see this?
I did not.
The media for basically a beat writer for every team from whatever publication went in, did a poll, and ranked environment, amenities, the whole deal for the NFL. I'm terribly surprised at the top. I think I would have guessed SoFi just because it was new, and they spent all the money at number 1, but it was actually at number 2. Number 1 for the second time in a row they have done this. U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis gets the win there. Viking Stadium, number 1.
I've not been in it, but I've been by it, and it looked amazing.
SoFi for the Rams and Chargers at number 2. Lambeau still at number 3, even though it is the age that it is.
It's really cool.
Yeah, sure, I get it. Yeah, I understand why. AT&T Stadium, number 4, there in Dallas. Lumen Field, number 5. It's loud if you haven't realized. It's in Seattle. There with them. Arrowhead, number 6. Allegiant in Vegas at number 7. Mercedes-Benz Atlanta, number 8. Empower at Mile High. That's the Broncos, obviously, at 9. And Steelers, what used to be Heinz Field, it's now Acrisure Stadium at number 10.
I love that stadium.
That is your
kind of like
10.
Pittsburgh as a rule.
From worst to through the bottom 10, the worst for like the second or third time in a row is FedEx Field there in Washington. It is like unanimously almost known as the worst stadium in the NFL. Yeah. The blurb says in a dominant last place finish, the home of Washington's NFL team since '97 again finishes last. 27 ballots had FedEx Field in the bottom 5, and 25 of those had them ranked as the NFL's worst stadium.
Oh,
25 of 31 ballots had you dead last.
Then you probably are last.
You got you got a new owner, you got all this stuff. You don't win.
Yeah.
The Commanders reporter, Ben Standing for The Athletic, said it's old but not revered. The basic amenities are outdated for this 21st century world, with the locals choosing to stay away in recent years. Amid the losing and non-contending and ownership embarrassment, cheers from hordes of visiting fans dominate the atmosphere. Also, they'll be trapped in brutal traffic on the way out, suckers. And yes, the rails break, the pipes burst, and parking ain't cheap. At least everyone knows a new stadium is a must. Hold your nose for the next 5 to 8 years in the interim and hope that winning becomes a distraction.
Oh.
So even their own beat writer went there with the wording. Jacksonville, second to last. Miami and Hard Rock, third to last. That surprises me a little bit. I did not realize they were that far down.
It's an old stadium.
1987.
Mm-hmm.
They remodeled last in 2015, but 1997 they're on that one.
There's only so much lipstick you can put on a pig.
The Bengals at number 27.
Whoa, hold up.
Paycor.
No.
The 23-year-old stadium cracked the bottom 5 on 13 ballots, finishing in the same spot as 2020.
No. Blasphemy. It's
and
then beautiful place.
Not even a surprise at all. Coming in at number 26, the Caesar Superdome. It's old. It's old. It doesn't have your amenities. It obviously can be fun when they're winning and it's loud, but
it's old.
Well, I mean, as said here, Larry Holder writing the blurb for the story, it hosts Super Bowls because it's in New Orleans, not because of anything to do with the facility at all. They are doing a facelift, but at this point, there's as you said, there's only so much lipstick that they can go on here.
In New Orleans, it might make sense to build the state of the art, like what Nashville's building.
Yeah.
That one in Nashville, if it ends up doing what it looks like, is going to be a game changer. I mean, it's going to look awesome.
MetLife at 25, that's the Giants and Jets, said that it cost $1.6 billion when it was completed in 2010. The money was not particularly well spent. It's a boring stadium, and it's universally agreed on by Giants and Jets fans.
All right. Multiple people are asking us to rank the SEC stadiums.
The actual stadiums.
The stadiums. Vanderbilt's the worst.
Here's the thing with that.
That's
is that
easy.
They're mostly all old,
mm-hmm.
and they're so environment-based. Like,
yeah.
Everybody's done work, but
yeah.
Also worth acknowledging, is there any I've never been to South Carolina, so I have no ability to rate Columbia. I think that's the only stadium in the SEC I haven't been to.
So I've been there, and it meets what you just said. It's cool because the stuff. It's out by the fairgrounds. It's not the best part of town. It never struck me as having a ton of amenities. The thing is that none of the stadiums were built for modern amenities.
Vanderbilt's the worst. Missouri's the second worst.
Yeah.
Has Tennessee remodeled in any way since I would have been there?
I don't know. And again,
it's old and boring to me. The last time I saw it, I haven't been there in years. I haven't been there since Derek Dooley beat the crap out of Houston Nutt that day.
And you're in a closed-off press box.
Correct.
So you're not even feeling it. Yeah. So to rank them, what you have to do is, first thing you have to do is come up with criteria. Because I think if you're talking about amenities and stuff, the majority of SEC stadiums suck.
Yeah, that's not where the goals are.
They weren't built that way. And so to fix them, like what did Texas A&M do when we saw this in the Manziel doc. They gutted the thing, and started over. Did they build a modern stadium or did they build another college stadium?
Yeah. No, nobody has gone the NFL route of going, hey, I'm about to blow you away. That's not happened.
I mean, but some of the stadiums, like the ones that Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, Jordan-Hare, Sanford Stadium in Georgia.
It's where I think it's a great thing, probably a really good thing, even though it came about some challenges, that Ole Miss is going to take a breath here, because you've got an erector set of a stadium. Every side looks different.
Yeah.
What you need is changing by the day. I mean, and again, Keith's going, yeah, well, you're not, and you're about to tell thousands of people this, but if I were in saying all, I would shrink attendance. I would put in chairbacks basically everywhere.
Yeah.
Increase premium seating and find ways to just amenities all over the place and not worry about having some sort of general whatever to the situation.
I mean, if you had the money.
Again, yeah, I understand.
If you had the money, you'd basically blow up 3 sides of the stadium and completely redo it with modern amenities and all of those things. But that would financially be so stupid that now no one would do that. Multiple people are saying A&M's really nice.
Okay.
I haven't.
Bama's done a hell of a job over the last 15 years. They might be number one on my list. To the knowledge of where I've been.
I have to tell you, what Alabama's done with that stadium in a relatively short period of time is remarkable. That thing used to be a dump. And they've actually made it pretty nice.
LSU's atmosphere-based.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, that's an old structure. I mean, there's only so much you can do with the facility that is as old as that one.
And I haven't been to Athens since like 2010 or whenever that was. I don't remember. Maybe before that, honestly.
I haven't been since 2012.
Okay.
I used to go a lot.
Yeah, see, I haven't been to Georgia in a long time.
And it's nice. But I never paid much because, again, you guys got to remember we go to press boxes. And so we don't.
Yeah, we're not hanging out in the club area.
We don't really
go see the deal.
I would guess that Georgia has poured some money into the clubs.
Sure.
I would think.
State's done a nice job of what they have to work with.
Yeah. I always enjoy going to games at Kentucky, but I can't tell you anything about the stadium, really. It's not
Kroger Stadium now?
Kroger Field.
Kroger Field? Okay.
Yeah, Arkansas has done a really good job taking a structure and modernizing it. It looks really good. The only thing I can tell you about the one game that I've been to there as a regular person was the line for a beer was so long that I just didn't bother.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And part of that was because I don't think they have a lot of room on the press box side in Fayetteville. I don't think they have a lot of room for, concourse room.
Oh,
really? Now the end zones and stuff where they've poured a lot of money into in the clubs and stuff, I'm sure those are pretty nice.
Huh. Okay. You mentioned this, Kroger. It's actually on my list of potential openings today, and the power did not allow me to get to that. But I just saw this earlier. I thought it was interesting. Kroger is, let me find the exact. In the United States, Kroger sells more of this than any other business, place, restaurant, whatever you want to call it, than anyone else. What do you think it is? Kroger is the largest selling purveyor of this item in the country.
God, I don't know.
40 million units a year is the number. It's not what you would ever think, is why I'm obviously bringing this up.
Milk?
Sushi. Kroger.
Really?
Yes. Americans aren't snobby about their sushi. The grocery store operator Kroger is the biggest purveyor of sushi in the country, selling more than 40 million pieces per year, according to the Wall Street Journal. The company realized it was number one back in 2020. In the past 3 years, has ramped up its sushi offerings to claim even more market share.
Now that you say that, every time I go into the Kroger, they've got somebody working on sushi. Every time.
It's not bad. It's fine.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it is. I have needed to go to the grocery and needed just something quick lunch-wise, and you're obviously get some protein. If you grab some tuna or salmon or something, and I'll grab a thing of it and go about my day. I like sushi, and I'm not scared of it.
I like sushi if it's really good.
Well, okay, but you're not getting that.
No,
but it's
so
perfectly
I probably
acceptable.
wouldn't like it. I probably wouldn't.
You're
like
not going to dinner and having the whatever, but it is perfectly palatable for what you're trying to get.
How about that? I would have never guessed.
It says grocery stores across the U.S. are benefiting from consumers choosing $8.99 California rolls over omakase date night. Sushi sales at U.S. retailers have risen more than 70% in the past year.
Huh. Things I never would have guessed.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
No.
Well, we got a few minutes, and again, I've got a list of stuff, but we'll hit it tomorrow because we had the unforeseen challenges today. Help me with something though, and I know probably multiple people in the stream is one I'm sure of was there on Saturday. Soccer, MLS, Messi winning the Leagues Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Huge for MLS, huge for the business side of MLS. I've got some numbers here I'll read in a minute. All this stuff.
Yeah.
For the uneducated. So I'm putting myself in that group, okay? I'm saying perspective for the uneducated. Explain to me why in some ways it doesn't look bad on the MLS talent that he is dominating to this level, because it is an impactful on the field, an impactful thing that can't even be measured the way he is performing.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that was the case at his previous stops to this level. So why am I not in some ways going, God, is MLS just a lot worse than I thought it was?
No, it's not a lot worse than you thought it was. But no, they don't. I mean, look, if you watch an MLS game, and I watched Cincinnati and Columbus last night, for example, and then you watch English Premier League game, and I watched a couple of those this weekend.
Okay.
There's a difference in the talent. In the same way, if you watch a major league game, and then you go watch a AA game, there's a difference in the talent. Players are good, but there's more better players, the high level, of course.
But did we expect this type of on-field?
Yeah. I mean, he's still the best player in the world.
Okay, sure.
I mean, he's an incredible talent.
10 goals in 7 games.
Yeah. I mean, he's
took a last place team that just won whatever this thing is.
Yeah. And he brought a couple guys with him.
Okay.
But yeah, he's special. I mean, the Nashville coach was quoted as saying there's just some things that he does that you can't defend. He's that good. But, Nashville, a game was tied for 75 minutes?
I mean, he went to penalty kicks.
Yeah.
Went to 7 rounds of penalty kicks. I was not talking about Nashville. I'm saying domination is in how he's treating the MLS. Calm down.
Yeah. But yeah, he's dominated MLS. But what he's done also is, I think he's shown you. I think this is why MLS people are so excited. He has shown you that if you get the top talent in the world on the fields here in the States, the people will go and they will watch and they will invest in it.
Sure.
And he's a huge name. Like standing room only tickets were going for $600-$700 the other night.
That was his 44th trophy. Became the most decorated soccer player ever after the win. From a business standpoint, subscriptions to MLS Season Pass on Apple TV have more than doubled since he joined Inter Miami. In a recent earnings call, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, said he cannot be happier with how the partnership is going. Well, yeah, duh. Messi's now iconic pink jersey was the top seller across all sports for Fanatics last month.
Yeah.
An Adidas spokesman said that demand for his jersey in Miami has been, quote, truly unprecedented. Ticket prices, as you said, are just skyrocketing. 1,700% increases on resale sites. On field level seats in Philadelphia the other day, $16,200 online.
Wow.
And then on social media, the Inter Miami Instagram account has grown to over 14 million followers, which is more than any team in NFL, NHL, or MLB. So there's your business side. And look, the person benefiting the most from this is actually Messi because he gets cuts of all these things.
Yeah.
The way his contract
That's why
is.
I did it.
I mean, he's raking in the cash right now.
Yeah, sure. But this is probably going to inspire some MLS teams to throw big money at some European stars. I don't know that they'll come play.
Yeah, sure.
Not in their primes anyway.
Sure.
But the fact that Messi was he 34?
I don't know.
Yeah, the fact that he's doing this kind of at the tail end of his career, it's probably going to make it more palatable for other players to do the same.
It's fascinating.
It's a huge win.
It's fascinating.
I mean, it's a huge win for MLS. It's a massive win for MLS. Because there's now the people that say, well, you can't make soccer work in the States. They've been proven wrong.
Yeah, this is a completely different thing than Pele being a Cosmo for a year or something.
Yeah.
Like, this is not that.
No, they've been proven wrong. You can make soccer work in the States. Now, you're not going to replace the NFL or anything like that. And so when the soccer people start doing that, you're like, shut up. But you look at the numbers that like NBC and they get for the English Premier League in the U.S., they get really good numbers. I mean, Chelsea played like crap yesterday, and it made it very hard to do 10 thoughts in here as a room over things were getting thrown. So, I mean, people are watching English Premier League in this country.
Yeah. To go to football tomorrow. Lane Kiffin speaking today at practice. So we'll see what he says after a scrimmage that was closed to the media on Saturday. Some of the scuttlebutt coming out of it that is Dart made a few mistakes. Spencer Sanders had a good day on Saturday. Apparently Riscano had a good day on Saturday. Just a little bit of stuff that leaked out as there was some donors and the people around for the scrimmage on Saturday there. I want to talk about some of the Neal's picks. He had 10 thoughts. He's got Quinn Ewers winning the Heisman Trophy. Mention that
took a
tomorrow.
stab. You know what?
I know we might hit on that for a minute tomorrow.
Because if that happens, I look really smart.
Well, that's a good point. And when it's just some dude, you go, well, whatever, took a shot. There's no negative to that.
Anybody could go Caleb Williams going again.
That's a good point. So
I'll say this. I'll tease it with this.
Yeah, you're good.
I am a person who knows a lot of people in football. I don't know the football the way that they do, but I'm talking to football people here the last few days, and everybody's raving about Texas, specifically Texas's offense. Football people, not Texas people.
Okay.
I mean, if they somehow beat Alabama, there's not another like game on their schedule that you go, oh, that's an L.
No.
And so if they win a bunch of games and he puts up a bunch of numbers.
If they're decent at all, there's like 8 wins just on the schedule.
Yeah.
It's hard to.
So, if he wins 10 or 11 and puts up big numbers, it's a quarterback trophy.
Yeah.
People are going to be disinclined to vote for Williams 2 years in a row.
Sure. I get it.
There's no quarterback in the SEC really it's difficult for me to imagine Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman.
Yeah, sure.
There's no SEC quarterback that's must-see television that we're thinking of right now. Like, I don't think we go, Jackson Dart or Spencer Rattler or the kid at Tennessee or
Joe Milton
or KJ Jefferson. I mean, those are Will Rogers. Those are the veteran quarterbacks in the league. None of those guys win a Heisman. I mean, I guess it's conceivable that if LSU got just red hot, that Jaden Daniels could win a Heisman Trophy, but I doubt it.
And it's a quarterback award, sorry.
Yeah, it's a quarterback award. And I mean, there's just, he's got a good shot if they're as good as people say they are. And if they're not, and people go, God, Neal, you really blew that one. I'll be like, well, I'll blow a lot of these. I mean, they're just picks.
Yeah, nobody's holding that one against you at this point, so. Okay, but we'll make fun of that a little bit tomorrow. Some more college football. Again, Kiffin and practice today. And then leading into, week 0 starting on Saturday. The Midshipmen and the Irish kicking off the college football season. So until tomorrow, talk to you then.